Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carrow Road. Apologies, I've just played the wrong video there, but I think you get the impression, get the right idea. Welcome. I've even put the score up early, which is, of course, not really what you probably wanted as we set out here. But welcome to Carrow Road. It's sunny. The lawnmowers are out, so maybe it won't be too long, and I'll try and keep my voice close to here. And there's Matthew Usher, by the way, who does all the Norwich City photos. I'm sure he's been in more than one of these already this season, but there we go. I'm not stalling. Maybe I am stalling. It's 3 successive defeats in the Premier League for Norwich City. They've lost here 2-1 at home to Leicester, in I think a game widely held up as a slightly better performance and a missed opportunity, I think, which is probably how it feels. And I'm going to be honest here. I'm quite conflicted. I'm trying to work out how to treat the game subjectively, whilst also either detaching myself, but also understanding the baggage of Norwich's previous Premier League campaigns, but also what those showed me and what I learned from those. And I feel myself thinking about last year when Norwich weren't in the Premier League, and I was looking at Fulham and West Brom from like the opening weeks and going, well, they're not good enough. And now I'm trying to work out if I'm being too subjective with Norwich City. But Norwich did score today. They are not bottom of the league. Arsenal are, in fact. And I don't know how much that could change with the rest of this weekend's fixtures, but it obviously does mean there's a high chance that Norwich will be heading to Arsenal in a bottom of the table clash. The other side of the international break, Norwich have got a weekend off now, of course. So quite the remarkable situation from that point of view. But on today's game, as I said, it's very difficult. I thought Norwich went behind to a Jamie Vardy goal within 7 minutes. It's not a handy trait to get into where you're conceding goals so early. It leaves you chasing the game, obviously, especially at this level. And I thought Norwich were hideously open for a lot of the first half. I thought Norwich did improve, and they got their equaliser from the penalty spot. More on that in a bit. But certainly the first 20, 25, maybe even 30 minutes, the way that Leicester would just break with the ball and have basically a 5v3 overload. They overloaded both flanks, so they had 2v1s on both flanks, yet Norwich had no appearance of having any kind of numerical advantage in the middle. And you're thinking, well, where is everyone then? Because you've not got the ball yet. You seem a bit screwed. And they just could not get a grip of it. And it was interesting then after the break at 1-1, I thought Leicester lost their way a little bit, but also Norwich kind of gave them a bit more territory and a bit more possession and countered themselves with a better degree of effect. And maybe that is something that should have happened a bit earlier on. But the goal was wonderfully taken by Jamie Vardy, as you would expect if you leave him unmarked in the penalty area. The 2 centre-backs just stood far too far off him. It came from a mistake from Brandon Williams on his Premier League debut for Norwich, which is not ideal because we've now got 3 left-backs who have made mistakes in the game. And actually Leicester's winner also came from that side in terms of the shot, at least. Whether that you could hold too much about Brandon Williams and that score possibly could have got tighter to Mark Albrighton. But yeah, it's not ideal that Norwich having to deal with that in terms of the left backs at the moment. Still early days. So that was a really difficult situation. And as I said, it felt like each time Leicester broke, they kind of had that advantage. And Norwich weren't keeping the ball very well. They just struggled to really progress and make anything clear cut at the other end. And seeing them do that whilst also looking so open at the back made it quite a difficult watch. And I have to say, Leicester played, I thought, in the first half, and certainly the first half of the first half, like a side who'd just been done 4-1 and had a point to prove. I think you have to give them credit for that because they were very sharp when they got the chance. It was like this sniffing of blood that you probably expect from a club and a side that has done pretty well in the last several seasons, maybe apart from the last few weeks, which is the only times when it's really unravelled. So I thought you sensed that. I thought you sensed that they wanted to do that for Brendan Rodgers. So fair play to Leicester for that. But Norwich did sort of claw their way back in. I mean, I thought they were incredibly lucky not to be 3-0 down at half-time, never mind level, just on chances, certainly on the counter. But, Norwich got a penalty. Pierre Lees-Melou, who, if I'm honest, I feel has struggled in these first 3 games. I think the intensity is He's just not being able to match it at the moment. I think that's quite evident too. But he got into the box. He had Norwich's only shot on target, I think, before that. He got taken out by Soyuncu. I say that. I mean, Soyuncu slid in from behind. To me, it's a penalty because if you slide in and don't win the ball, you're immediately asking the question. So if he doesn't do that, he doesn't concede the penalty. It would have been a goal kick because the ball went out of play off Les Malou, and the referee gave a corner. But he had to go to the monitor after VAR basically told him to. And I think once there was contact and the sliding in from behind, you kind of have to give it as a penalty. Daniel Farke was a bit disappointed it took that long because there was quite a delay for them to do that. Teemu Pukki had a long wait, but dispatched it really well, which is a big moment, hopefully, for him. Interesting then, actually, that Daniel Farke took him off with 20 minutes to go. Quite a proactive substitution. Got Josh Sargent on. In a game 2 years ago, I think he'd have just left Teemu on. So that's interesting and good because Josh was energetic and, in fact, had a really good chance down here that he poked wide, had a couple of bodies in the way, but it was a good chance. And I think that might have been when the score was 1-1. I'd have to double check. But yeah, Norwich got their penalty just before half time. So the second half comes out, and I think Norwich looked a bit more of an even game, I suppose. But you just get this sense that certainly a team like Leicester, so we're kind of working down the league, aren't we? Working down the division at the moment. So Leicester still had the quality, if they got a sniff, to take it, which is what they did. They really only got one kind of sniff. James Maddison did have two very good chances in the second half from free kicks, it must be said. But I thought, Billy Gilmore's actually had a pretty good game today, which kind of just emphasises the fact that he's not the player Norwich want him to be for that deepest point, because he just can't break up play. And it's a major issue. You look at Leicester, who've got Ndidi and Amati, isn't it? But who's playing in centre back today as a makeshift centre back. But just two players, you'd love to see a player like that in this Norwich side because it would make the world of difference. And I have to say, I find that piece of business incredibly, incredibly important to complete over the next 3 days. Daniel Farke is saying, if it's the same group, then we'll go with it. I'm just trying not to do an impression of him there. Sorry, Daniel. We've got the same group of players. I will go with that, of course. And of course, he has to say that. But they really, really need that player. Really, really need that player, I think. It would make a massive difference. I don't know how close they are to doing it. They did still seem confident of getting that and centre-back done before the window closes a day or two ago. So we will see. But yeah, that role I thought was exposed. Billy Gilmore got turned around. I mean, Daniel Farke wanted tactical fouls, but ultimately, it's also about closing down the spaces and dealing with those situations. And ultimately, Jamie Vardy switched out really quickly. It was a lovely finish from Mark Albrighton, a lot of experience in the finish too. But, Brandon Williams didn't quite get out there quick enough and that didn't close it down. That said, Norwich reacted both to that first disappointment because they did grow into that first half. They didn't get cut adrift. They just about clung in there. And then the reaction after they went 2-1 down actually was very good. They should have been level. Ultimately, by the letter of the law, Todd Cantwell is in front of Kasper Schmeichel, and because he can't see the header and was stood in an offside position, he is therefore deemed offside, and he was probably by about an inch. But it does make me think, what is the point of sticking anyone on a goalkeeper? Because if you're offside, you're immediately getting a goal chalked off. So it feels like a really unfair, wrong decision, but it's probably technically right. Probably. Schmeichel was getting nowhere near Kenny McLean's header. That would have been 2-2. The atmosphere in here was quite pumped. Norwich fans celebrated for a long time without realising the flag was up, which made it really frustrating. It was a difficult moment because it should have been much more than it actually was. So ultimately, they pushed as hard as they could towards the end. We had Tim Krul up in the opposition penalty area and all sorts of shenanigans going on. It could quite easily have finished 3 or 4-1 as much as it could have finished 2-2 in those last 5 minutes of injury time. But the problem I have is that, again, although you're kind of looking at Leicester coming, let's see a better performance. I think we did in the end. I don't think we did at the start. I thought the first 20 to 25 minutes were quite frightening, to be honest, and a worry. But Norwich did rally. And the problem is when you're playing against a team of better quality, which Norwich are, those fine margins just make such a difference. They feel so costly whenever you're on the wrong side of them. So the good thing is everyone, I think, is avoiding putting too many excuses out there. There was a few times today when Daniel Farker was talking about, oh, this is what happens when you have young players. But just kind of, I know what he's saying, but I don't know. They've got to be fast learners, because we can't go through the whole season saying, well, the young players are costing us here. But it's difficult. And again, I suppose that's why I don't want to really get stuck into the baggage of 2 years ago. I want to see the side compete this time around. And as has been the case since pre-season, I'm not entirely sure how this season is going to go. Encouragement, though, Kenny McLean came into the starting lineup and I thought he did very well. I think, as I said, I think Pierre is struggling a little bit, but I thought Lucas Rupp did okay when he came back on later on. Maybe gave the ball away a couple of times, but it's okay. I thought there were signs Norwich were getting a bit more up to speed and almost themselves just shook off some of their insecurities in the second half and went a bit more toe-to-toe with Leicester in a balanced way, so it wasn't so horribly open and naive. And it was naive this time. As I said, I thought Billy Gilmore did well, but probably emphasised again he just needs to play slightly higher up, and I think there's probably a role for him to do that. I thought there was real encouragement from Milot Rashica. I think we're starting to see him being a threat. It's just now turning probably the XT, expected threat, into expected assists and goals, and then assists and goals. But encouragement there. And again, Josh is doing well when he's coming on, Josh Sargent. So there is plenty of encouragement. Goodness knows what we get at the Emirates in the other side of the international break. And then, of course, it's Watford down here, which already feels like a huge game for Norwich City. So that's kind of where we are. No Christos Jolis in the squad today with his calf injury. He's out 2 to 3 weeks. He won't be heading away with Greece. I would say that puts a question mark on him at Arsenal, given it is 2 weeks now. So we will see. Even then, he'd probably only be on the bench. Milot Rashica won't be away for the red list game for Kosovo. I think it's still in the balance, or they maybe have made a decision, but we don't know what it is yet in terms of him joining up with them for the 2 games in amber list countries. So we'll see how that plays out. But at least there's a chance to regroup. And Norwich have not usually been particularly good at this stage of the season under Daniel Farker, at least not when it's ended up pretty well the other end of it. So let's hope it's more one of those than the other this year. But yeah, I think I've covered off all points. The transfer window closes at the end of Tuesday. Obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo has slipped through their fingers. So we'll see if they can get the 2 deals that they desperately need to secure. Certainly the one, for me, they desperately need to secure in terms of that defensive midfielder. Just in terms of giving Daniel Farker another option to play with in that starting 11, I think is really important. So we'll see if that comes off. I'll do my best to keep you up to date, as I have done all window, with the actual stuff that's happening and accurate. And I'll do my best with that. In the meantime, thank you as always for watching, your comments and questions. We'll do another On The Ball podcast live this week on Bank Holiday Monday. I might do a Q&A during the international break as well. Bring in the green room, because we haven't done that yet. But yeah, thanks for your comments and questions. I won't get the chance to look at them now, but I will reply to them afterwards and when I've got back and done all my other work. But yeah, look after yourselves. Take care. It has finished here. Leicester 2, Norwich City 1. Long way to go, but it already feels like we've come a long way so far. So let's have a nice regroup, and then we'll get to the Emirates. What a game on Sunday week. 2 Sundays weeks. Thanks all for watching, and I'll probably leave you with the video that I started off with. So a very goodbye to you all.